good evening. This is Maestro Critello with a Dawn of War 2 Retribution Codex Edition cast. Today we have a 1v1 on Calderis Refinery. Now our first player right here is FaceCommander, playing as the Eldar Warlock. And on the other side we have Dark Riku as the Senior Epistolary, or basically the Librarian, who is now a hero. So this is the first time I am casting a game involving Eldar. So far you've definitely seen some Space Marines, some Orcs, and some Chaos Space Marines. As of this moment, I believe Imperial Guard and Tyranids are not quite fully playable. I did try them out a bit in a skirmish game. Imperial Guard was noticeably incomplete with the Lord General not having any war gears whatsoever. And I tried out Tyranids a bit, but I don't like Tyranids at all, so, I mean, I just tried them out and then I just got bored pretty much instantly. So I can't speak much for even how functional that is. But already we got some new units. Now we have some Dire Avengers. They're actually the starting unit for the Eldar. And you actually can get both Dire Avengers and Guardians in the Codex Edition. In addition to, yeah, you can get both Dire Avengers and Guardians. Now the Dire Avengers, the deal with them is that they are aspect warriors, so they are really like dedicated warriors, like actual soldiers, whereas I believe Guardians are more like militia. They're literally like Eldar citizenry, but I believe as it goes, that all Eldar basically have to fight when necessary because of just how few the Eldar numbers are. So yeah. Right here we actually have a striking Scorpion squad. Now in the one time that I played, or maybe not the one time, but when I played Eldar in the Codex Edition, I actually really like those striking Scorpions. They're a new melee unit for the Eldar. And if we, let's get a closer look at them. They have some kind of sword as well as just a pistol, but they're just pretty cool. They can be upgraded, I believe, to Cloak.
The reinforcements are most welcome.
I don't recall if they have any kind of jumping ability. I don't think they do, but they can definitely cloak, and you can just use them to ambush and stuff, and I really like them when I use them. We also have a 4-man Ranger squad. Now, if we take a look at that Ranger squad, they've actually got 4 long rifles. 4 long rifles, which is... I wonder how that's going to work out. I mean, I'm assuming they're not going to just instantly kill this entire scout squad, but let's see. Let's see, what is it going to do? Killed 2 of the models, and came very close to killing... That might be the entire squad. And it will be. So those Rangers... Oh man, I can't imagine what's going through Riku's head right now, especially because Riku is already as a dedicated Space Marine player from Retail and Elite, he already believes that Eldar has a big advantage over Space Marines just in Retail and Elite. That's something to be honest, I actually believe it very much as well. And of course, I mean, one of the things that's already good about Eldar against Space Marines in Retail and Elite are Rangers. And now we have a Ranger squad with 4 long rifles that just absolutely destroy that scout squad. It almost like made the scouts like just really not even seem viable. And especially considering Rangers are already kind of overperformed against scouts in Retail and Elite. This just seems to be kind of making things even worse. These Rangers causing a lot of trouble. We do have the Dire Avengers here. They now have their Exarch. Now, what we can see right now, the Dire Avengers do not seem to be making much sound. And look at that Exarch. Look at how tall he is. He's got some kind of gun that he's holding. He's holding a rifle like one-handed, and he's got a sword as well. So pretty beastly guy. According to what we see here, it says the Dire Avenger Exarch. He leads his brethren with a power sword and shimmer shield. He provides the blade storm and defend abilities which greatly augment the Avenger's ability to stand up to enemy troops in a firefight. And now we actually do have the Guardian squad, or there are actually 2 types of Guardian squads. This one is called a Guardian Defender squad, and this one is the one that is more equivalent to the Guardians that are in Retail Dawn of War 2. And we can see they have those regular Guardian models. They also have Shuriken cannons in there as well. Shuriken cannons. Now, the way it works is the Guardian squad, it actually just functions much like a basic ranged unit in its vanilla unupgraded form. and then you can actually upgrade it to a setup team. And I believe that's actually the way it works in the fluff. The Guardians, one of the main roles of Guardians is to actually work as weapons teams. They go around with some kind of weapons teams, and you can upgrade the Guardians with several different kinds of weapon teams, including up to D Cannon, Bright Lance, as well as several others that are not in vanilla or retail. I mean, retail or elite. I believe one is called like a Stargazer Cannon. I don't remember all of them, and maybe we'll see more of them. Now, unfortunately, Dance Commander not quite paying attention to those grenades, loses some models to attack grenade. And this time we actually have the apothecary. We actually have the apothecary squad out of Riku. The apothecary squad, to be honest, seems to function much like the apothecary hero, with many of the same abilities: combat stimulants, purification vials, as well as healing, of course. So we see these Devastator Marines, much like the Havocs. They start out with 2 heavy weapons. Well, they always have 2 heavy weapons, and they start out with 2 heavy bolters. And you can upgrade them to have 2 las cannons, I think 2 missile launchers. Here we see those striking scorpions. Oops. Those striking scorpions. And if we look at their animation, that actually seems to be a custom animation, because I don't recall seeing that animation for any unit in retail or elite. Although that being said, it's only a single animation, whereas many of the vanilla or units from the original game actually have multiple melee swing animations. So the striking scorpions take out that power node, but now they're just idling. And I don't think Dance Commander actually achieved a whole lot there, other than costing Dark Riku some red. We do, of course, have some Assault Marines out of there. Probably going to be necessary for dealing with these nasty Codex Edition Rangers. And I think especially with FaceCommander having mostly a ranged build, Assault Space Marines do still pretty much counter any ranged unit. Of course, we do have these Striking Scorpions. I don't know how they necessarily fare against the Assault Marines. I'm actually guessing that the Assault Marines would win. And that must actually be the defend ability on the Dire Avengers. And now we have that double shuriken suppressing. Looks like Dire Avengers might just go down here. Very, very close. 12 health. Can they just get can that lead ASM model just get a few more shots off? Oh, wow. So that's very interesting. You can now use webway gates as a retreating point. You can retreat to webway gates. Oh, there's that Warlock. Has been upgraded to Witchblade of Kurnos and the Warp Throw, both seeming to function basically as they do in retail or elite.
Send forth a Warlock to lead our Guardians. That's a good position.
At full speed.
Interesting scatter on those shots. They seem to target many different things. And there it is. They didn't seem to overperform quite as much as I was expecting them to, considering how they wiped that scout squad. This double Bright Lance seems to be quite good, though. It seems to suppress pretty quickly and seemed to also do quite a bit of damage to this CSM tac squad. Now, Riku is not being too aggressive right here, and he doesn't entirely have to. He already has most of the map. He doesn't want to run into that suppression team when his Assault Space Marines are healing back in base, so he doesn't have what he needs to break that suppression, so he's not just going to walk into the suppression just yet. So those Rangers seem to really do a ridiculous job against the Scouts, but not doing quite so much against those tacs. Riku already in Tier 2. FaceCommander upgrading to Tier 2. Now, of course, these striking scorpions can get an upgrade to infiltrate. Unfortunately, they just walked right into a suppression arc as well as Assault Space Marines. Now, here's it. I was almost about to say, well, Riku doesn't have scouts, so he can't detect. But just kidding, because we have a Tactical Marine Sergeant who is a detector, and he comes with a power sword and a bolt pistol. So more detectors in this game, more grenades, more everything, to be honest. In this mod rather than this game. And I wonder even what that ability was on the Devastators. Because the Devastators themselves actually have a Devastator Sergeant. And I believe the Devastator Sergeant must be that one right there with the banner as well as that, well, basically just with the banner. They all have some pretty fancy bolters with bayonets, as well as scopes. But yeah, Devastators can get Sergeants as well. So most of the squads can get Sergeants. Tax, ASM, CSM, as well as Devastators and Havocs. They can get Sergeants or Aspiring Champions. Now, at least with the way things are currently going, FaceCommander is often getting his Bright Lance jumped without having much to counteract those Assault Space Marines. He either just doesn't have his Striking Scorpions ready, and I don't necessarily know if the Striking Scorpions are actually a match for the Assault Space Marines. And I know this mod is supposed to be truer to the fluff than Retail or Elite. And one of the things I think that could mean is that Assault Space Marines are probably going to be pretty beastly in melee combat, as opposed to Retail and Elite, where they're actually inferior to most other melee units. As a melee unit, they are inferior to Banshees, certainly Banshees, even Sluggas with the knob in Retail and Elite, they are inferior to them. Again, as melee units, I mean for the purpose of melee fighting. There are, of course, many other dimensions, such as how much tankier Assault Space Marines are, and their function as a jump unit. Senior Epistolary has been upgraded to the Avenger, giving him a fireball attack, and also has Quickening, giving him the Quickening ability, which I'm sure is just the regular default quickening ability he has in Retail. Probably doesn't come default in the Codex edition, but you can upgrade to get it. Wraithlord now out on the field for FaceCommander, as well as he's got a Shuriken Cannon on top of it. And we have some late Howling Banshees, so it's interesting to see those Howling Banshees coming out when they are. I actually don't remember, I mean, the Striking Scorpions, I remember getting the Striking Scorpions and really liking them. I don't necessarily know what the deal was with these Howling Banshees. They might even be like a Tier 2 unit. And now we have Devastators with missile launchers. So they have double missile launchers. And they also come with a frag missile ability. And we saw that frag missile ability right there, obliterating most of the Guardian models. As well as now this Howling Banshee squad out on the field. And Devastators are very interesting. They seem to be... they actually seem to, in some ways, they actually seem to have more in common. They actually don't seem as different from the Tac Squad as they are in Retail or Elite, where it's like in Retail Elite. They're very much exclusively like a suppression and setup team. They don't have the staying power of Tacs. They don't have the damage of Tacs. Here things seem a little bit different where, I mean, it seems to actually be, from what I've read a bit of the lore, where Devastators and Tactical Marines actually in some ways seem pretty similar, but it's just some slight differences in terms of what weapons they can carry, how many of those weapons they can carry, because there's actually, certainly with the Havocs and the CSM Tacs, there's actually some overlap where both squads can get heavy bolters, and I believe the regular Space Marine Tacs can get heavy bolters as well. But of course the Devastators, they get 2 heavy weapons, so they're just going to be slightly better at that purpose, while definitely being worse at anti-infantry. And I mean, with that Sergeant, they do have 3 bolters, so they probably have decent anti-infantry capabilities. Not to mention when you also throw in that frag missile ability, which did some pretty nasty things. So FaceCommander has already lost his Howling Banshees.
What do you require?
And it'll be interesting to see what comes next. Both players are actually about the point where, I believe they're about the point where they could tech to Tier 3. Now, Tier 3, I could be wrong. tier 3 is either 600 requisition and 150 power, or it's 600 requisition and 200 power, so they might actually be quite a ways off. Well, not quite a ways off, but not there yet. Both players having quite a bit of red, though. And we have the Apothecary with both Purification Rites and Advanced Medical Equipment. Although the Purification Rites do not function the way they do in Retail or Elite. And what is this? No friggin' way. So here we have the Autarch squad, which I did not know existed. But it's basically a squad of Autarchs, or it's called Swooping Hawks. It might just be some other aspect warrior name. We have that warrior, that leader looking really funny. So Swooping Hawks, instead of calling down one Autarch, you call down 6 or 7 of them. 7, yes, 7. You get 7 Autarchs. Because what's better than one Autarch? 7 Autarchs. But things now are not going so good for FaceCommander. Down on VPs. He does still have that Wraith Lord. The Wraith Lord has a charge too. And it's going to be... These walkers seem to be very hard to kill with those charge abilities, considering how fast that charge is. Very good used evasively and also offensively, although of course offensively you don't want to lose, you might lose your walker right there. But yeah, here we got that Autarch squad, and they're just raining grenades. They threw out like 4 or 5 grenades right there. A little late, I think, from FaceCommander. He used the warp throw. I guess he followed it up with the with the Ethereal Slash. He could have followed it up with those grenades that he threw and wasted with the Autarch squad. Yeah, oh my god. But this Autarch squad is interesting in that they actually all start with ranged weapons. They're still a jump unit. They're still jumping though. And what do we got from Riku? Gotta be maybe Vanguard call in? No, Stern Guard call in. Stern Guard call in. And those Stern Guards loading Hellfire bolts and absolutely killing the Autarch squad. FaceCommander going for some new Howling Banshees, while Dark Riku going to tier 3. And with that surplus of red that he has, he could certainly go for an orbital bombardment if he wants. He could go for an orbital bombardment, probably do something else as well. Dire Avenger's actually still up for FaceCommander. Still only level 1 though. So they might not be doing a whole lot. Most of FaceCommander's units still at level 1 in fact, whereas Riku's got some pretty well leveled squads. Level 3 Assault Marines that have a Power Fist. So you don't need to get Vanguard veterans to get a Power Fist, but I mean the rest of the models are still chain swords, as opposed to a Vanguard squad where you can of course get the Thunder Hammer, the Power Axe, the Power Sword, all that good stuff. Yeah, so nothing's happening right now, so...
Our reinforcements are here. The reinforcements are most welcome.
But this Guardian squad is actually up to 10 models, so that probably means they have a Warlock leader, and from those, I think also those platforms. Starts at 7 models, I believe. You have the platforms, another 2, and then a Warlock leader.
I walk in the witch path that pertains to war.
Looks like Dire Avengers, looks like they were about to try to go for that decap using their defendability, but they are taking way too much damage. I don't even know if they'll make it out of there alive, and no they don't. Those Dire Avengers just got absolutely horribly murdered. And look at those Autarch grenades, actually doing quite a number on the Stern Guard veterans, but they are just going to be reinforcing from this drop pod right here. And here goes that orbital bombardment. And it actually looks like, so good reactions by FaceCommander. He actually did not get hit any units hit by that orbital bombardment. And the orbital bombardment does not even wipe the webway gate. Wow! But like 3 models from those Howling Banshees got gibbed, so, I mean, FaceCommander dodged the orbital bombardment, but he did not dodge Riku's army. And Riku actually has, I mean, he's definitely got enough red that he could just do another one, although he's still waiting on a cooldown.
Our reinforcements are here.
These striking scorpions, I also like their stance. They have like a low stance to the ground. Do they actually have chainswords? Yes, they actually have chainswords, although they don't seem to be moving. And at this point, it's not looking too good for FaceCommander. Still has quite a few units, still has quite a few resources. But Riku's got dominating map control, and Riku, if anything, has dominating resources. Can, of course, do another orbital bombardment. Might be a little ways off from another unit, though.
We are losing a power node to the enemy.
Anyway, looks like FaceCommander is finally about to start fighting again. Maybe. Riku is strangely pop-capped, considering he doesn't have a whole lot of units. He's only got 5 squads, which is very strange to be pop-capped at. But Riku is probably pop-capped because of the various squad leaders that he has. He's got Sergeant on his Assault Marines. I think he has some kind of additional member out of the Apothecary, since I believe the Apothecary only started out with 3 members. He does have sergeants on both his TAC and his Devastator. There's something going on right here. What? Oh wow! That was wow! What the hell?
Guide our hands.
But that had to be this ability from the Senior Epistolary, the Vortex of Doom, which seems to allow the Librarian to cast a Singularity.
A discouraging reversal.
And that is the end of that game. Hope you enjoyed the cast. Have a good night.